from Prince Edward Hastings.
Thanks, Speaker, and thanks to the Auditor General for her report today. We know that the Premier and the Liberal government blew $1 billion in the gas plant scandal to get re-elected. Now we know that they're going to double down as a result of the report. They're not even going to double down, Mr. Speaker. They're quadrupling down today a $4 billion scandal.
First of all, I need to know who. I'll ask you in a moment. And the Minister of Community Safety and Correctional Services will come to order, and the President of the Treasury Board will come to order.
The Premier, Speaker.
Thank you.
We know that the Premier was responsible for the $1 billion scandal with the gas plants. We now know that this scandal that's been uncovered today by the Auditor General is a $4 billion scandal. This government is doubling down, it's quadrupling down, using taxpayers' dollars for its re-election ploy. And if the Auditor General's report isn't scathing enough, we have a report from the Financial Post this morning that released stats on the loss of manufacturing jobs as a result of the Green Energy Act, which got us into this mess in the first place. The report states that we have lost 75,000 jobs in Ontario in the manufacturing sector, a direct result. Why is the Premier continuing to defend this policy?
Seated, please. Seated, please. Thank you. Premier.
Questions.
Minister of Economic Development and Growth.
Mr. Speaker, I just came from the Canadian Manufacturer and Exporters Annual General Meeting, and Mr. Speaker, I can tell you one thing. Our exporters, our manufacturers are tired of opposition members talking down the incredible progress they have made working through the global recession, Mr. Speaker. Emerging stronger here in this province, creating 12,000 net jobs in the manufacturing sector alone in the last year alone. It's not fair, Mr. Speaker, to talk down that hard-working sector, leading the country in growth, helping us create 800,000 net new jobs, Mr. Speaker, across this province. It's time for that party to start supporting our manufacturers, Mr. Speaker, rather than denigrating them.
Thank you. The member from Simcoe Grey will come to order. Please.
Speaker, back to the Premier. We're getting a very, very different story on this side of the House when it comes to job losses in Ontario and companies that are hanging on by a thread in Ontario because of the policies of this government. The Green Energy Act in this study done by the Financial Post shows that 75,000 manufacturing jobs left Ontario as a direct result of the Green Energy Act. It's a mess, Mr. Speaker. It's a mess for our employers over there. It's a mess for our manufacturers. And the Auditor General has pointed out today that this government is willing to blow another $4 billion. That's $800 per household in Ontario for their re-election platform. It's unheard of, it's disrespectful, and it has to stop. But there's no sign of it stopping. They got away with it once with the gas plants. They're going to do 4 times the damage with this unfair Liberal hydro plant. Will they stop it now?
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, where was the opposition when we invested $1.9 billion in our manufacturing sector to leverage $18 billion in private sector investment and support 90,000 jobs? Mr. Speaker, they were nowhere. They were opposing those investments. Where was the opposition when we were reducing regulatory burden on the manufacturing sector? When we brought in the industrial exemption, Mr. Speaker, they were absolutely silent. Where was the opposition, Mr. Speaker, when our finance minister provided some pension solvency relief to this sector, saving them hundreds of millions of dollars? Where were they, Mr. Speaker, when we brought in the Smart Green program run by our Canadian manufacturers and experts? Nowhere, Mr. Speaker. Where were they when we brought in 3 different initiatives in the ICI, the Industrial Conservation Initiative, to save our manufacturers billions of dollars, Mr. Speaker? Nowhere, Mr. Speaker. They're all talk, no action. We stand up for our manufacturing sector, and that's why this province is up.
Thank you.